Good afternoon. My name is Salazik Spratland. I'm a graduate student at Georgia Southern University, majoring in higher education administration. Today, I present to you my interview project for my EDLD 7430 class. I had the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Lewis Scott, who is currently the Director of Financial Aid at Georgia State University. Mr. Scott obtained his BS in political science from Georgia State in 1994. In that same year, he began his long journey to the directorship of the Financial Aid Department. But let me start you out where he began. In 1994, he joined the department as a customer service representative, where he basically provided basic customer service to students and parents for about a year and a half. After that, Mr. Scott became the General Financial Aid Counselor, where he was in charge of the Study Abroad program. That basically entailed advising students that were studying abroad about the financial aid issues and helping them to navigate the waters. He was also in that particular position for about a year and a half. Next step for Mr. Scott was the Senior Financial Aid Counselor position. In this position, he managed the student loan program, and he did this for 4 years. He liked it so much that he was then promoted to Assistant Director of Financial Aid. For 6 years, he held this position, where he oversaw all of customer service, 10 staff members, the compliance area, the HOPE Scholarship Program, student loan program, as well as being in charge of the satisfactory academic progress aspect of the entire office. After a 6 year stint as the assistant director, he became the associate director, where he oversaw the entire operations of the office, which included records and verification, Pell Grants, the HOPE program, loans, Title IV, scholarship, college work study, the study abroad program, as well as supervising three additional assistant directors. For 4 years, in being tapped as associate director, he was asked to step into the role of director. Now, he spoke candidly about this, and he advised me that when he was asked about this initially, he had turned it down, but then he was approached by one of his mentors in the political science, one of the professors that he had built a relationship, and that professor urged him to step in as interim director. He did that, and after two failed searches to find a director of the department, he was then persuaded by that same professor to apply for the position of Director of Financial Aid. In 2008, Mr. Scott was officially named the Director of Financial Aid, where he currently oversees all facets of the department, which includes the compliance, audits, the strategic management of the department, outreach of the department, enrollment, the retention and recruitment, the department communications, the scholarship, federal and student aid programs. So during this conversation, I asked him what he felt, how did he feel really about student affairs, and he shared with me with a grin that student affairs is a great place to be. He stated that the daily student interaction aspect of his job is just terrific, and he really, really, really likes that part of his job. He also shared with me that being able to assist and help students achieve their goals in getting their degree or degrees is awesome. Georgia State University Department of Financial Aid mission statement is to make sure that students are awarded and have the financial resources to attain their higher education. It is also to provide outstanding customer service, be sensitive to the students' needs, and to make sure that staff understands that the students are the client and they really do come first. The organizational structure of the department is Mr. Scott is the director He oversees all of the operations of the department. Reporting to him is the associate director, and that associate director provides management to the various assistant directors. Under the assistant directors, there are a host of counselors, advisors, and customer service staff that makes this wonderful department run. In speaking to me about the changes in the department over the few years, the first thing that Mr. Scott shared with me is that the change in the makeup of the student body has drastically changed from when he was a student. Basically, GSU student population is much more diverse than it has been, but it continues to sustain the same excellent quality of education. He also stated that staffing has changed. In 1994, when he became part of this great staff, there were only 20 staff members in the department. Now there are 32, and that number is to increase to 34, hopefully by year's end. He also shared with me that the Pell population has increased. 56% of undergraduate students are on Pell Grant, and 91% of first-time freshmen are on financial aid. To me, those numbers are astounding. When I asked about the current budgetary status of the department, he said without hesitation that the department is financially sound. The department has been able to increase staff in size in spite of the downturn of the economic climate. But he did share with me one budgetary challenge is that the staff at GSU has not received a raise in over 4 years. But on top of that, he said, even though that's the case, they continue to do a job of excellence. The areas of responsibility are numerous for this particular department and for Mr. Scott in general. They oversee the records and verification part, Veterans Affairs and Educational Benefits, the Scholarship Resource Center, Pell, Hope, loans, Title IV, scholarships, college work study, and study abroad. As far as financial needs of the department, he would really like to have additional office space because currently his office is too small for the staff that he currently has. He also sees a need to create more need-based funding. And lastly, to have a more intensified focus on student counseling as it relates to paying for student tuition. As far as accomplishments, there's a lot of success that goes along with this department. He is very proud and touted the fact that there were no audit findings. He also shared with me that the loan default rate is down. He shared that the increase in financial literacy is due to his department going out and sharing the word and making sure that people in other departments are aware of the process and procedures of financial aid. He also shared that financial aid has a direct impact on increased graduation and retention rates. And to me and to him, and of course, I would hope to many, that is a major success of that department. As far as his aspirations and what he would like to do, he told me quite candidly that his ultimately what he would like to do ultimately is to be an assistant or an associate vice president of enrollment management. Now, I shared this conversation with him in his office, and he said that if that happened at Georgia State, that would be great. But he is not opposed to looking out at other institutions of higher education. And I really do hope that this happens at Georgia State because I would hate to lose such a great man of integrity like Mr. Scott. As far as the future at Georgia State in this department, the department and the future looks extremely bright. Over the next few years, the department seeks to create a financial counseling center. This financial counseling center is going to be a collaboration between the Department of Financial Aid, the Office of Student Accounts, as well as the Office of Student Advising. They would really also like to restructure the entire department there in the Department of Financial Aid. He also shared that he'd like to hire an additional associate director and hopefully a finance compliance manager. I asked him what are the major issues facing higher education, in particular financial aid, and he shared with me that the constant regulation changes from the federal and state governments are increasingly difficult to work with. He also stated that the FAFSA process is more complicated and needs to be simplified. One of the things that he really had an issue with is the fact that financial aid is overregulated. And we need to find a way to deregulate financial aid so that those that are in the field is able to provide that access to the students that really need it. And last, as I alluded to earlier, he stated that staff pay increase is pretty much non-existent. In conclusion, my initial reaction to my conversation with Mr. Scott was that of, wow, I had no idea that this department did so much. The breadth of what they do in this department is, to me, astounding. Would I like to work for this person? Absolutely yes. Mr. Scott, I find, is a man of integrity. He practices what he preaches, and I see that. I work with him on a weekly, quarterly basis. And through my relationship with him, I can see that he is truly a great manager and a great leader. Would I like to work in this department? Again, I would have to say yes. And to be quite honest, during my conversation and even after this conversation that I had with him, when I was compiling all of this information to present to you, I started to think maybe I should think about financial aid. Maybe this is a place for me. And I think due to this presentation and due to my ongoing relationship with Mr. Scott, I may just look into that. The overall assessment of this interview experience has been nothing but greatness. I actually enjoyed this probably much more than anything I've done this semester. Thank you for listening. Have a great evening.